So the long-awaited date of October 8th is finally upon us, so if you are a Metroid fan especially, or even if you're just a Nintendo Switch fan in general, it is a big day for all of us. But with that, there are still a ton of new news stories that have dropped that I want to share with you guys, starting with Metroid Dread, as we have a new Digital Foundry tech analysis of the game, and I want to share those results with you guys. Then I also want to cover the big trilogy that will be making its way officially to the Nintendo Switch, as it was previously leaked on a ratings board, and we now have official confirmation around it. And then I really want to dive into a quick discussion around JoyCon Drift and why Nintendo is claiming that they have fixed it. And the big talking point for today's video is if you are picking up an OLED, there is a big warning out there from Nintendo themselves, and I want to share that with you guys so you're prepared when you unbox your new Switch OLED model. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, before we hop into the news stories, I want to quickly say a heartfelt thank you to all of the supporters out there on the channel, as we just crossed a major milestone of hitting over 20,000 subscribers, and that is just simply hard to believe, and I am humbled and honored for all of you guys that actually stick around here on the channel, continue to comment and like the videos. It just helps us grow, and it helps reassure me that we're on the right path here together. So thank you to all of you. And with that, I do want to dive quickly into the news. We have to start off with Metroid Dread, as it is, it's release day. It's finally here. You can actually go pick up and play the game. You can download it, or you could go to your retailer and pick it up. And we actually have a really cool video that Digital Foundry put together when it comes to the tech analysis of this game, because we have heard previously that it will be running at 60 frames per second, and that is a great benchmark to have for a fast-paced action game like this. But they went a step further and broke down kind of all of the major bullet points around performance of this game, and I want to quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything, where they actually transcripted those bullet points, and I want to share those with you guys so you kind of know what to expect when it comes to overall performance on Metroid Dread. A new technical analysis for Metroid Dread has come in, which offers insight into the game's frame rate, resolution, and more. The piece comes from Digital Foundry, which went live a short while ago. Below is a full roundup of tidbits from the publication, including the frame rate and resolution for Metroid Dread. So the things that stuck out to them is overall quick loading, some loading between areas. Metroid Dread has a 16:900 or 900p resolution when docked, native 720p resolution in portable mode, doesn't use anti-aliasing, high quality animation work, subtle use of bloom and light, fogging adds depth to numerous scenes, film grain used strategically based on your surroundings and context, animated clouds of mist in cold storage areas, certain areas have reflections while others simulate the look of indirect lighting, particle effects update at half rate, Metroid Dread frame rate is 60 FPS, a couple small instances of stutter, real-time cutscenes are 30 FPS, docked and portable modes are similar. This game has proper surround sound support and strong audio overall. So I'll link to the full Digital Foundry breakdown video if you guys are interested in deep diving into the tech analysis, as they just did a great job summarizing everything in their video. But those are really the highlight points, and I think the one thing that does hop out to me is the fact that it's running smooth at 60 frames per second. Now, yes, it is a 900p resolution as opposed to 1080p when it is in docked mode, but if you ask me if I would prefer a slightly higher resolution such as 1080p or a solid locked 60 frames per second, I will take the locked 60 frames per second any day, as we do know to expect very fast gameplay from this Metroid Dread installment, and I think that it's gonna have to run smoothly at 60 FPS to give you really that intense feeling when you're running from like the Emmy robots and all of the different boss battles and combat that we know to expect. So there is a ton of hype around Metroid Dread. I know a bunch of you guys are picking it up, so I definitely look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments down below if you got it already and if you started it up, and what your initial impressions of the game are. No spoilers, please, if you're actually into the game so far, because I will be booting it up for the first time tonight, and I'm actually having a second live streaming channel that I just recently created that I will link in the description for you guys as well, in case you want to pop in and say hi. I'm aiming for like a 8 p.m. start times in Central Time, which that would be a 6 p.m. Pacific Time or 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you guys are available then, I will look forward to having some back and forth conversations with you while I'm starting out Metroid Dread. It'll probably be a couple hours long stream, so I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game, as it's just been in the highest level of anticipation ever since we found out of its original announcement from E3 in 2021 back in the summer. So I cannot wait to start through this, and I would love to hear from you guys what your initial impressions are and if you're picking up Metroid Dread today. Now from there, I want to talk about a major trilogy that is now officially confirmed from the Nintendo Switch. And if you guys have been around on the channel for a while, you've probably seen us talk about it a couple times here, as we had multiple ratings boards actually leak this title ahead of time, because they were, of course, rating it for completion, and that is none other than Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. And this will come with Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And that is a really big deal when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, because if you guys aren't familiar, Nintendo and Grand Theft Auto are not synonymous at all. In fact, the only game we've actually seen released on a Nintendo platform is Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars back on the DS. So obviously, you know, this is going to be a welcome addition for all Nintendo Switch fans, and these are going to be the perfect type of games to play portably on the go and pick up and play and have some fun. And, you know, I don't know exactly what the final graphics are going to look like, because to my knowledge, we have not really gotten a gameplay trailer for this, and really it's just a simple Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition announcement trailer with the logo there, and it says coming soon. So it is supposed to be out in 2021 for all consoles and PCs, and then I believe it is mobile that will actually be getting this as well, but in 2022. So we do look forward to the official time frame and announcement and some gameplay graphics, but you know, I do think that this is going to be one that will be a welcome addition to many Nintendo Switch fans out there, myself included. I have most nostalgia for Grand Theft Auto Vice City, so I will definitely be picking this up. The other thing that I don't think there's official information on right now is whether or not we will be getting this as a physical release or just digital. I definitely hope they do a physical release, but a lot of these games nowadays, especially when it comes to collections, are, you know, either only getting a digital release or they get a digital release at launch and we get a physical later on down the road. So, and unfortunately, as time goes on, all of us collectors out there that like to collect the physical cartridges for everything are starting to get ground on a lot of these type of games, because it's just cheaper for the companies to upload them to the store directly and not have to deal with shipping and logistics and retailers and all of that stuff. So it's an unfortunate sign of the future to come, of the all digital gaming future that we are headed towards. But it's still something that, as long as cartridges and physical cases are around, I will definitely be picking those as my first option every time. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below what your hype level is for Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition, and if you'll be planning on picking it up for the Nintendo Switch at release. Now from there, I quickly want to cover why JoyCon Drift is back in the headlines today, and it is because there's actually a very interesting interview that went live late last night with actual R&D developers from Nintendo, and they've basically lined out some different enhancements and changes that they've been making to the Switch overall, some of which are obvious, like the OLED edition screen, and some of which are actually what they call invisible changes, which means they've just kind of been upgrading things in the background. And one of the things that they claim that they have fixed over the course of time, or at least have addressed, is JoyCon Drift. And if you guys don't know, there's all types of class action lawsuits and groups that are actually coming after Nintendo for the JoyCon Drift issue, just because they haven't really acknowledged it. They have had questions about it in the investor meetings, so they definitely know it exists, but they haven't taken any real steps to fix the issue. So I want to start off this conversation and discussion by hopping over to VGC so we can read through the article where they basically give us the scoop on exactly what was said from these Nintendo R&D developers. Nintendo says Switch Joy-Cons have been improved to combat drift. Switch OLED and older models now include the latest version of the analog sticks. Nintendo has confirmed that the Joy-Cons included with the Switch OLED are the latest version with improvements made to combat Joy-Con drift. And when asked about it, the developers were quoted here saying the following: Joy-Con controllers have lots of different features, so we've been continuing to make improvements that may not always be visible. Yamashita said, among others, the analog stick parts have continuously been improved since launch, and we are still working on improvements. The analog stick at first release cleared the Nintendo reliability test using the method of rotating the stick while continually applying a load to it with the same criteria as the Wii U gamepad's analog stick. As we have always been trying to improve it as well, we have investigated the Joy-Con controllers used by the customers and repeatedly improved the wear resistance and durability. He continued, the parts of the Joy-Con analog sticks are not something that can be bought off of shelf but are specially designed, so we have undergone a lot of considerations to improve them. In addition, we improved the reliability test itself, and we have continued to make changes to improve durability and clear this new test. When the effects of our improvements were confirmed, we promptly incorporated them into the Joy-Con controllers that are included with the console, Nintendo Switch Lite, and one sold individually that were manufactured at that time. This involves the internal components of the Joy-Con, so you can't tell improvements from the outside, but we use the newer versions of the parts when we repair them. Also, similar continual improvements have been made to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller as well. So since Nintendo officially came out and said this, there has actually been a lot of interesting talk and debate online around whether or not Nintendo's being 100% honest here, just simply for the fact that if you tear down a newer Joy-Con, it looks and feels exactly the same as the old one, and there are no visual changes that you can see. But obviously Nintendo is claiming here that they have made revisions to the internal technology, and it is supposed to fight off Joy-Con drift. And I guess, you know, we won't really know at the end of the day until, you know, we either get a really good teardown, breakdown look at what is in the internal components of of the analog itself in the Joy-Con, or, you know, we have those new white Metroid Dread style Joy-Cons that are launching today. And I suppose if we see widespread drift issues continue to pop up with those, then we will know that, you know, Nintendo has not really quite solved the problem here. But this is definitely a dicey issue for Nintendo with all of the class action lawsuits out there and, you know, consumers that are facing these problems. But I would love to hear from you guys on JoyCon Drift. If you purchased more recent Joy-Cons, has maybe you haven't noticed that issue anymore, or have you ever been affected by JoyCon Drift? Because outside of a couple times, which were like really weird one-off scenarios for me, I actually really haven't encountered it myself, and I use them all the time. So I would love to hear from you guys, because I know that a bunch of people are actually affected by this. So please share your, you know, thoughts and experience around what you've experienced with JoyCon Drift in the comments down below. Now then, the last story we're covering today is actually one that surprised me, and it's one that's out of left field, as Nintendo came online and basically stated that if you are picking up a Nintendo Switch OLED, that there is in fact a pre-installed screen protector that comes with that Switch OLED that apparently can be peeled up, and they're telling you not to do that, as it is crucial for the display to actually not get scratched or break into a ton of pieces to have that on there. And they do state that you can use your own screen protector if you would like, but this is one of those scenarios that I don't know if you guys remember when the first like Galaxy Fold phone came out, and it was a big deal and everybody was talking about it in mainstream news because it was a foldable phone, and then Samsung had some kind of internal screen protector on there that people were peeling off, and it was just straight up breaking their displays. So I don't know exactly that it's anything near as important as what that screen protector was on that Samsung foldable phone, but I do want to quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything so we can read through all the details of Nintendo's exact statement, and you guys can be informed, so that way whenever you're unboxing your OLED and you may see a little area that you could potentially peel up a screen protector, that you don't go through and do that. Switch OLED has its own screen protector. Nintendo wants you to leave it alone. Did you know that the Nintendo Switch OLED comes with its own screen protector? This is officially referred to as an anti-scattering adhesive film, and you'll want to leave it alone. Nintendo's latest Switch system features an OLED display, which is quite different than the plastic LCD panels we've seen with the consoles previously. To protect the screen against scratches and prevent the glass from breaking into sharp shards if damage were to occur, the film is used in the new model. If you look at the Nintendo Switch OLED manual, Nintendo puts a clear warning for all users. It clearly states, do not peel off the anti-scattering adhesive film from the OLED screen of the console. As pointed out by The Verge, there's a good chance that you may not even notice the anti-scattering adhesive film. It's actually not an easy thing to see. Nonetheless, as Nintendo says, make sure you don't attempt to peel it off. So I just wanted to quickly cover that story as a warning for everybody, because it would be terrible to be super excited to unbox your brand new Switch OLED and you start looking around and maybe you can kind of see one corner of that screen protector and you try to peel it up, and then, you know, for some reason something happens or the screen basically breaks apart. Like, I don't know exactly what would happen if you took it off. I can't imagine the screen breaking. It sounds like it's more of an anti-scratch, and it just holds the screen together if you were to drop it. That way the, you know, little glass shards don't fly out on their own. But it does appear that this isn't very noticeable, and you definitely have to look for it to be there, you know, rather than it just being like an obvious over the top protector like you see with brand new phones whenever they have like the plastic piece on top. It doesn't look like anything like that. It is definitely a part of the screen, and you should leave it there. And I would even recommend getting an additional screen protector, probably something like a tempered glass, as you know, those still look fantastic. They don't really degrade the actual visual effect of the display at all, and it's something that you can find relatively cheap online. And if you are going to play your Switch OLED in handheld more often, you might as well have an extra layer of protection on there, because this $350 console would not be a fun one to accidentally drop on the floor and then you have to do some kind of replacement or repair. So wanted to quickly share that story with you guys in case you are picking up and unboxing your OLED models today. And I would love to hear from you guys at this point in the video, all your thoughts on everything we covered today. Are you picking up Dread, and are you going to be playing it tonight? What's your thoughts on this Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition? Do you think Nintendo has actually fixed the Joy-Con Drift issue, and have you personally been affected by it? And then the big talking point is, are you getting a Switch OLED model today? And if you already have it, I would love to know your first initial impressions, if you've gotten a chance to actually boot up some games and play them on that OLED display. So I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics, so make sure you share all your thoughts before you leave the video. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.